Now, from the snapshots and the various landscapes associated with FLR activities and achievements, the IUFRO Global FLR team has derived some overall lessons learned, particularly important at the global level for processes such as the Bonn Challenge, the New York Declaration, and the SDGs. So I would like to call on Dr. Michael Klein to present these findings and the outlook of this side event. Can we put our hands together?
Before I go into these outlook slides, I think when you look at the material, the work done by our colleagues from 9 countries or even more landscapes in some countries, I think please get up, turn around, and I think we're giving a big applause for all the material of the videos, the music, the substance of the FLR. It is phenomenal. In the last 9 months, what our colleagues in the IUFRO network actually have provided to us. Thank you very much. Now, I have the honor and the rather difficult task to try to sum up something which is very difficult to sum up. But let me try. This is now an outlook of and a summary of that snapshot project, but I would like to highlight again that we are in the middle of the project. This is a small stop now here in Curitiba to discuss with you, to present preliminary results. We have planned a larger publication about the results of this snapshot in these 9 landscapes for end of this year. So the input, the questions, the comments you have are very, very important for us also to go further in this project and to complete it by end of the year. I would like to title the outlook and the summary a little bit like this: Beyond Hectares. After years of policy debates, pledges and commitments, of course the question at the global level is what has been achieved so far on the ground. I think it's a valid question because a lot of efforts, a lot of debate and a lot of money has been spent on very different policy processes, such as the Bonn Challenge, the New York Declaration, but also Paris Agreement and in CBD IG targets as well as SDGs, which are all actually targets and global objectives where FLR can substantially contribute. And as we have seen, the diversity of aspects to be considered are in most of the cases beyond hectares, because we deal with a multidimensional glimpse of FLR and came up, as you have seen, with a large number of different aspects which are beyond hectares. The overall lessons learned now from that FLR snapshot analysis, and I have divided that overall summary in diversity of aspects beyond hectares. Then some elements I would like to highlight on measuring progress on the ground, and then make the link to sustainable land use, which is the overall goal, of course, in all actually what society should head for. So these are important lessons learned from the ground in the selected landscapes in 9 countries. Somehow the purpose is, of course, to manage expectations at the global level so that realistic targets at this global level can be formulated and hopefully also appropriate and meaningful support be mobilized for the actual ground level where activities take place. So these are the 3 parts, as you see on the board, I would like briefly to elaborate. In a nutshell, we have actually dealt with aspects which are beyond hectares, which deal with political will. We have seen this in the case of India. Top political will was a key so that the restoration could take place. And of course, this holds true in many other environments in all, of course, all of the countries. Of course, let us hope that this political will continue so that restoration can progress and become permanent. Then we have landscape governance issues, the case of Madagascar with the tenure issue, but also Guatemala, where there are obviously administrative problems in mobilizing support, difficulties in accessing support, requirements which do not fit for local communities, difficult actually to have them. So these are landscape governance issues. Other issues are related to communication. In Ghana, we had the case of communities engage. It is communal land. It needs to be, stakeholders need to be mobilized, needs to be kept engaged. In the same way also in Bangladesh, as a highly populated country. And more, with increasing population, we will have landscapes where many people live, and it's not so easy to keep everybody on board, which is necessary for successful landscape restoration. Then we have technical aspects, and extremely important, at the borderline of tree growth, in dry lands where you have edaphic, climatic boundaries of tree growth, where you need a lot of technical capacity and aspects, technical knowledge and innovation to get new forests established, or even that existing forest can survive. Throughout our project, we had capacity development issues. One example is that of Brazil. It's not only the capacity of individuals, but the capacity to market products, to contribute to livelihood. So that means the capacity of the markets, capacity of stakeholders and also the society and the business sector to arrange green supply chains and getting the new products, the sustainably produced products to the markets, so that actually they are also, the benefits are accruing to those growers. Of course, and you have seen also we had project design and implementation issues. In Ethiopia, for example, budgets and targets need to be matched, particularly when it comes to large-scale undertakings, where a huge amount of money actually needs to be processed in very short period of time. But also, a good example is, in terms of project objectives, the case of Peru. Without water, which is the main issue there, you don't get access to people even to talk about tree planting, to do soil conservation, because of the importance of water, the availability of water for agriculture products as well as for domestic use. And of course, overriding everything is monitoring and evaluation, which we would like to discuss in my next slide on measuring progress on the ground. Measuring progress on the ground is, of course, a key that we know, and we collect the information needed to know what is the progress, what is still needed, and where are the problems. But here we took actually not an individual restoration project as our starting point, but we looked at the landscape as a whole. So therefore also in the videos you saw first the landscape and saw all those elements and the difficulties and the cultures. And then of course have a bottom-up approach of the assessment by ask the locals. And asking the locals gave us that insight into priority of peoples, their vision of the landscapes, and very, very important as a starting point to get a grip on reality as identified by those who live in the landscape, who work with it, who should benefit from it. Of course, then one also looked at past and current interventions in the landscape to see, because many things happened in the landscape. Not everything what happened in the past was bad. There are reforestation, a lot of efforts to rehabilitate land, to make it again productive, but on the other hand, also many negative things happened, so therefore restoration is needed today. I would like to highlight one point, the so-called climate change mitigation. Just planting trees and then equalize this on the website with so many millions tons of carbon sequestered is not true. This happens over 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So we need permanence. So once trees are planted and are established, they need to stay in one form or another. Either being sustainably used so that the areas in the long term can sequester carbon, then you harvest the trees, they can be put in long-term products, and the same areas again continues to sequester. Then actually the mitigation objective of that particular piece of land is fulfilled. In terms of monitoring systems, of course, one needs robust scientific knowledge, no doubt, but it might be too much even and too complicated to have one monitoring system for FLR. So ideas could be to use existing system like IPCC carbon accounting, which takes place or should take place in all the countries. National forest inventories, maybe national forest inventory expanded to a national forest and national landscape assessment and inventory, national poverty assessments, participatory rural appraisals are all existing tools which are partly or fully implemented, and from there the data, the information is derived to proper monitoring also of the success of forest landscape restoration. And finally, the link to the overall objectives to connect the groundwork which we have heard here to the global level. Of course, the question can be, when can a landscape be considered restored? Are we going for sustainable restoration? I don't think so. Because we would need to go in the long term towards sustainable land use. So focus restoration on priorities, and this can be very different in very different contexts. Think of Peru, think of the Amazons, in flatland, in the humid tropics, Peru, in the high mountains, or in other, we've seen in Mongolia or in Bangladesh. We always need to keep in mind that any FLR project is an intervention into a social system. Get first access to the minds and the hearts. If that changes, also the landscape will change. This means for decision makers at the national and the global level, it may take time. A successful FLR project in the first 5 years might not yield any physical results on the ground because it's discussion, it is harmonization, it's consultation. And only then, once things have been sorted out, conflict has been resolved, objectives reconciled, trees are planted, water comes again the music, very good. Water structures are being put as well as other measures to conserve soils and go for restoration. So overall, we need to recognize that transformation to a more sustainable land use takes time. And the forest landscape restoration as an activity and a tool, of course, is not an end in itself, self-serving, but it should be a means toward a sustainable land use in the long term. Global forest landscape restoration processes can contribute overall then to developing a bio-based circular economy. So this was my short nutshell and the connection to those global processes. And maybe also decision makers at the global level understand what is needed. And we wanted to show this with the videos, with the work done on the ground level, what complex actually problems are need to be solved, that some hectares, some pledges actually can be realized. Well, and finally, it's my pleasure to thank you all. First of all, of course, I would like to thank the Federal Ministry for the Environment, Nature Conservation and Nuclear Safety of Germany for supporting generously this project here, and also then up to the end of this year to come up with a publication. And of course, I would like to thank all the scientists who have been involved. It was a marvelous collaboration, truly IUFRO. Tons of emails, all sorts of things have been discussed, and a lot of efforts have been made in the regions. Without IUFRO, without the network, this would not be possible. Of course, I would like to thank the global FLR team and the SBDC team for all the work done to guide, to provide input, and of course also to design this wonderful concept of this event here. In a nutshell, to provide a lot of information to you, but after a long discussion on scientific discussion a day, we thought this would be a light way actually to convey information, to transport information. And with this, of course, I would like to thank also on my behalf to all those who have contributed to this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I would also want to appreciate everyone that has been around for this session. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you so much. Now, we've had a number of questions that has been submitted, and we've agreed that this question, we will use it to kickstart what we call Curiosity Cluster. Just outside there are some posters that has been placed, and we're expecting that all of us will rally around the various lead scientists of each country, and we'll look at their work and further ask questions about their work. Now, we've selected 3 questions that we hope will be able to kickstart this discussion in the Curiosity Cluster. The first one, how was climate change considered, both the impact on the forest and the people? Then the second one, how are these experiences influencing the government targets? And then thirdly, what has been the experiences of the scientists with the use of native versus exotic species? So hopefully in our discussion in the Curiosity Cluster, we'll address these issues and other issues that will assist others who will be going into the FLR for their various countries and communities in the different landscape. And we want to remind us that we can submit our feedback on tiny.cc/FLR Snapshot. tiny.cc/FLR Snapshot for our feedback. We would really love to hear from you. So with that, I would want to encourage all of us to go outside so that we can continue the discussion. And I've been assured that there are drinks and food for us even as we continue. Thank you very much.